crap. Good afternoon, friends. I'd like to welcome you today to What's in Tegan's Storage Locker. It's the show that dares to ask the question, just what is in my storage locker? The answer today, it's comic books. It's always going to be comic books. I grab a fistful of comic books from the undifferentiated mass that is my storage locker, and we go through them here on screen for your pleasure. Oh, he was asleep. He's literally just sitting up and looking at me like, wait a minute, is it time for me to cause mischief? He's been resting well for a couple hours, so if my luck is out, my luck is up. All right, well, let's just get going. All right, right on top of the stack here, we got an issue of Star Wars from the late 90s. I didn't always buy Star Wars, The problem was with the Dark Horse Star Wars books that they reached a point where they weren't doing Star Wars comics about any characters that you really knew, or later on in time periods, they were doing lots of comics from time periods that were something besides the movie time period. So you get lots of comic books. It's like thousands of years before the Battle of Yavin. You get stuff that's set in, the era before the prequels or between the movies, but not really usually with any of the characters that you knew. Not always, of course, but it was a big enough problem that later on, towards the end of the Dark Horse tenure with the license, they made a big deal out of actually relaunching a book called Star Wars that had, Princess Leia and, Luke and all that in it. But I picked them up every now and again when there was something that was interesting. If it was like a Jabba the Hutt, Jim Woodring's Jabba the Hutt, I did buy when I saw it. And, occasionally one of the better things about Dark Horse's tenure was, I just got through saying, they did lots of Star Wars stories about characters that, weren't in the movies or periods that weren't, popular, unless you, read the books or something. But, the flip side to that coin is they did a lot of one-offs, and there was this Star Wars Tales anthology. I think it was Star Wars Tales, that had really good people working on it. It was like a different creative team every issue. And they could get people, to come on to Star Wars, maybe for not a whole, arc of a book or something, but for a special project. So this is a one-shot it's exactly what it says, Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina, and it's a team-up. It's an issue-long anthology, more or less, with two people throughout, Brett Blevins and Bruce Jones, both Marvel mainstays who've worked across the industry. Brett Blevins, you might know from late 80s X-Men. He was one of their major fill-in guys, but he had a run on New Mutants. And he did a number of other things as well, including Sleepwalker, which we've looked at on some of the earlier episodes of the channel. It's been a while since we looked at a Sleepwalker. Maybe I should dig one of those out. Anyway, one of my favorite guys. Definitely one of my favorite guys. And Bruce Jones, he's been working in comics since the 70s. He was working at 70s with the Warren magazines. He did a lot of work for Marvel in the 80s. He did more work for Marvel in the 2000s. Kind of wasn't there that much in the 90s. But a horror writer. Definitely someone who even comes to superhero material with a more like, psychological bent. So, them teaming up for just an issue worth of, it's Star Wars stories, but it doesn't have any of the main guys in it. So these could be sort of any generic, science fiction setting to a degree, but, it's still got the Star Wars logo on it, or they probably wouldn't, be able to get anyone to buy it. No greater hive of scum and villainy. That's the way the Mos Eisley should be remembered. The brightest story in the galaxy passed through these dusty streets and byways, but there are thousands of other darker stories, some of which bear telling. Here are a few of them, including tales of doomed mercenaries, altruistic droids, and unsavory exchanges in the shadowed alleys. So come on out of that sunlight, pull up a bench and share a tale. And that's basically it. You got people sitting around the cantina. Here's some familiar, including the walrus man with the short legs. Or no, Pondababa with the short legs. If I get that wrong. I don't think I got that wrong. I grew up with this stuff. That doesn't mean I have a perfect memory. Hey, come on. I'm not one of those people. And Brett Blevins, he's... I think that's supposed to be an Imperial Star Destroyer. I think. So, so this guy is basically just gets a... he has to go out, wait for something on a lighthouse. And, he's visited by weird... ghostly women. See, this could be, there's very little necessarily, Star Wars here other than the basic setting. But it's a guy who's tormented by, and then he goes to the beach and there are all these weird statues. Oh, wait a minute. There's these alien dudes walking around building a raft. But then these guys land and he gets to see that the strange woman who've been bedeviling him at night are monsters and they just eat all these people. It's a penal colony. Okay, there we go. So then they go after the guy and he runs back. And he's finally joined by Relief. Uh-oh. It turns out he was just being tricked. He's telling the story, so it's like, I got to my laser pistol in the nick of time. Mostly automatic. Oh, so here's a little green pilot dressed like a 1940s pilot, but he's green. So there's old timers telling a story. I remember this one because this I think is the kind of the standout of the book, if I recall correctly at this remove, because it's just about a guy who gets a job on a freighter, and he gets hit by an asteroid right after when he's halfway through his journey. He gets hit by an asteroid, and he's got to finish his trip at sub-relativistic speeds, which means basically he's just the rest of his life is a prison sentence on this ship because he can't get into hyperspace anymore. And so he's there for decades. He starts to go crazy. And then he finds a droid that apparently he didn't even realize had been on the ship. He wakes up the droid, and you can see where this is going. He lives with the droid. They get a rapport going. They even do some exploring. That's a nice little panel. Very Wally Wood. Yeah, see, these have sort of a EC flavor to them. That's the throwback flavor here more than any Star Wars. So, they're just, they're going through space together, and he's getting old, and then he gets to... but he has a heart problem, and there are no doctors around or anything like that. So basically, his droid gives him his heart, but central pump or whatever. Oh, well, there you go. That's a nice Higgs tail. And here are just some, more or less aliens who you could expect to see in any kind of sci-fi. Various shades of green. And little fuzzy guys. There's always going to be a little fuzzy guy somewhere in Star Wars. I remember this one at all. Oh, there's this guy's trying to get one over. Yeah, it's about shiny new Grumpf eggs. There you go. That looks wholesome. little pig dog dude walking around with an air tank. Cute little background detail. Very Star Wars. Oh, so he's telling the story how he found these eggs. And then, he found some weird tropical jungle in the middle of the snow. Very Edgar Rice Burroughs. He has to fight a Grumpf. That's what a Grumpf is, I guess. So, he shoots the Grumpf. But it's some kind of... a rip in the time fabric. I can see them, but they can't see me. All right, it's sci-fi jazz. I'm not going to sit here and read the whole thing. But it looks, who's doing the coloring here? It looks nice. Colored by James Sinclair and Pamela Rambo. Nice looking book. Interesting shades for these flashback panels. They do a good job at differentiating these different shades for the past, for the verdant jungle, for the winter wastes, and then you back in the future with the present of the Mos Eisley Cantina with your drab olives and khakis. Oh, and here's an ad for this stuff. I had my parents once grab me a bunch of these packs because they thought I played this game. It's like, no, I was never able to get into this game. My understanding from reading about it and looking at the cards that I had was it was a bit more complicated than it needed to be, but a lot of the first generation CCGs had that, there was a Wizards of the Coast. I remember they did a Dune game that apparently was supposed to last hours and hours, and it had there was water trading mechanisms in it, and apparently the one I wanted to play, but I could never get into because I knew that I would never be able to find anyone to play with, was the first Lord of the Rings card game, which you had to play with a giant book of rules because it was so complicated, and that looked fascinating to me, but I never would have been able to get anyone to play that with. So we got a couple pinups here. One with Pat McKeown, colors by Dave Cooper. And you can see Dave Cooper in the colors there. Pinup 2 by Gary Gianni. He's the guy from Monster Man. And pinup 3 by Cam Kennedy. We just saw Cam Kennedy the other day. Cam Kennedy did a lot of Star Wars art. I maybe should have mentioned that when we looked at that the other day. But he did. He's actually responsible partly for bringing Star Wars back to comics because he wanted to do the Dark Empire for Epic. It's a long story. He wanted to do Dark Empire for Epic. No one at Marvel had any faith in Star Wars anymore. But they wanted to do Dark Empire somewhere, so they ended up taking it to Dark Horse, and the rest was history. And, Marvel, they didn't think there was any juice in Star Wars in the early 90s. It was just getting going again, but I bet they probably regretted it. Probably, but, they went bankrupt in a few years anyway, so maybe they didn't have too much time to think about it. Heartbreakers. Who was that? I don't even remember. I remember seeing the book, but I don't remember who that was. They were, the interesting thing about Dark Horse, if you go back and look at this period of the company, is they were publishing a lot of manga, but they were publishing it in periodical. They were publishing it in monthly comics form. And I've been really, I think I've talked about this before, I've been really fascinated going back and looking at Dark Horse's comics that they printed, the manga they printed in the monthly pamphlet format. I think it was oddly, very flattering format for some of those books. And then, they gave up completely because they went to publishing it kind of similarly to how they publish it in the original, Japanese, which is they sell the little tankobons, and they made the tankobon a format in American publishing, even though American publishers haven't really taken advantage of it. But I think that they should go back to doing some manga in monthly comics, because like I say, it does flatter some of the material to be seen at a bigger size, at maybe a more leisurely pace. Blade of the Immortal. Blade of the Immortal had a very long run. It sold a lot of comic books, so there was an audience for that format at one point. They just gave up on it because I guess they figured the direct market's kind of chump change, and they're not wrong about that. But there are some properties that it might actually do better on the direct market. They could publish old Leiji Matsumoto. I think in periodical that would do pretty well. Here's an ad for another Bruce Jones. Brett Blevins joined Tarzan and John Carter, which may, someone like Philip Jose Farmer probably wrote that team up before, but maybe their first team up in comics. And this is right after the Tarzan versus Predator, which I actually just read on the TikTok recently, and was kind of a disappointment. There's actually a video about that, compiling my reviews elsewhere on this very account if you're interested. Okay, so what do we got next? How about oh, here's one. How about Team America #3? Yes. We're going back to the real oldies but goodies here. Team America, this was 1981? August 1982. Close. All right, so Team America was a licensed comic book following... Who were they licensing these guys to? Trademark of Ideal Toy Corporation, used with the permission of the trademark owner. So there was a team, very briefly, Team America Toys. And then, that didn't last very long. And the book lasted a year. So clearly there was not a lot of demand for a media franchise built around a team of stunt riders. And that's what it is. You got a team of people who drive around the country doing motorcycle stunts. And you're thinking, wait a minute, that's already kind of the premise of Ghost Rider. They thought they could get 2 books out of that. Yeah, they did think they could get 2 books out of motorcycle stunt riders. It was, just coming off the early 80s, just coming off the 70s. Evel Knievel had been huge. Some of you probably do not even know who Evel Knievel is. Go to Wikipedia, read about it, and just take my word for it. Because he was already more or less gone from the public's spotlight by the time I was, coming up. His career didn't last forever because he seriously injured himself doing really reckless stunts. But he was a major media figure for a good deal of the 70s. So there were more than a few comic books that really tried to, get some juice out of that. Ghost Rider was one of them. Team America was another. Human Fly was a third. Evel Knievel was big. Even, after the Fumes after the fact were still a huge imprint in pop culture. Enough that they thought that they could, get a whole franchise out of these guys. Anyway, they have a gimmick. They're not just stunt riders. All right. The premise is kind of like Forever People, in that you have a group of people driving around, having various adventures, and they can all do a few things. But when stuff gets really tough, they pool their resources and they summon another dude who's really powerful, who can win the fights for them. Only instead of the Infinity Man, it's this guy named the Marauder. And it's going to turn out that the Marauder is actually... Okay, what's going to happen is that it's going to turn out that Team America are actually mutants. It takes them a while to figure this out. It's not really... These guys did not show up on Krakoa. I went on Twitter and I even asked. But not only are these guys mutants, these guys are supporting characters in the first year or so of the New Mutants book, which actually is one of the most hilarious things I think that happens in the entire history of the X-Men. Professor Xavier's got this whole brand new team of new mutants that he needs to be spending his time focusing on how to train. And then a few issues into the series, the Team America shows up. And Charles Xavier realized, oh wait, these guys are mutants too. Well, they're more interesting to be around than the New Mutants. So I'm just going to basically just... And he actually abandons the New Mutants, I think in California or something. Well, he goes off and plays with Team America for a while. He's off teaching these motorcycle guys how to use their mutant powers. And that's like in the New Mutants book. It's not in a side series. But they didn't come back for anything. Like nothing. They have come back for no other mutant events at all. They were not on Krakoa. I think the Marauders probably too powerful for them. They recognize that he could probably crush them all if he wanted to, because he has the combined power of 5 motorcycle stunt racers. I love Team America. And anyway, if you go looking for Team America after 1983, they're called the Thunder Riders. And the reason they're called the Thunder Riders is because the Ideal Toy Corporation did not own the name of the individual characters, nor the concept. They just owned the name Team America. So all they had to do was change the name of these stunt riders, and they just show up as the Thunder Riders. They showed up in some of the Things solo book in the 80s. All right, and this is pretty much, what you get with Team America. They had variable creative team. I don't think it was a book that people necessarily... It wasn't a assignment that people were fighting for, shall we say. So, Bill Mantlo, Luke McDonnell, Vince Colletta on inks, Rick Parker on letters, Marvel mainstay George Russo's on colors. Pretty solid creative team for, B- tier Marvel book in the high Bronze Age. So you got a team of villains taking orders from Mr. Mayhem. You got Mr. Magic, Mr. Muscle, and Mr. Mind. And my goodness, they didn't put a lot of... I think... I'm going to say they didn't put a lot of effort in designing these guys. I think that was kind of the point. You have the most stereotypical stage magician you've ever seen in your life. Circus strongman in, green checked pants, which, were big in the 70s. And then this weird little munchkin shaped... He's got like normal human proportions, but he's small with a giant head. So like there's no creature that's ever had these proportions other than a space alien from the 1950s. But his skin is pink, so it looks kind of unwholesome. If he was green, that'd be great. Like invite that guy over for dinner. But he's just got this like naked pink giant head with veins on it. It's kind of... It's unsettling to look at. It just is. And And Mr. Mayhem looks like his eyes are falling out of his head. Yeah, these guys, they should be fighting the Defenders. Team America is comprised of 5 members. I suspect the mysterious Marauder may be one, all, or none of them. Well, that leaves a lot of... I guess Mr. Mayhem is full of mayhem. So we join with them in the process of one of their stunt... I guess they're running a course, jumping on sand dunes and over puddles. You got the jump on me, but not on the wolf, mi amigo. The wolf, he is their Lobo. He is their tough guy. You'll see when he takes his helmet off, he's got a tough guy look. Here's a BMX bike so you can live the adventure just like Team America. Oh, man. You know it doesn't taste that good anymore. I'm sure that this was made with, like, beef tallow or something. Oh, what are they giving away? The ColecoVision? Oh, an Atari computer game. That's what they call it, video computer game. So, yeah, it's just like an issue of Ghost Rider. You're going to see some people riding motorcycles around with, I guess, a nitro afterburner here. Riding up a felled tree across a river. And then they come to the finish line together. Listen to them cheers. Ain't nothing like it. I prefer silence and solitude. That's Wolf. I just want to get these cycles clean. Me, I want to collect our dough. We're getting a good fee for this exhibition, right, Honcho? The leader's name is Honcho. Right, ready. And if I had my way, we'd use it all for my private little counter-espionage campaign. I do not remember what the setup with all these characters is. I remember Lobo because he's the wolf. And these guys, I guess the giant head man has built this weird erg cannon that's being powered by the magician and this guy with the bad haircuts just sitting here watching. Team America is now held captive. Oh, he's imprisoned them within his magically formed Nullagon. Wow, that's fantastic. The Nullagon, that's actually really cool. And so that's why they got the strong guy, so he can lift the Nullagon into the back of this futuristic RV, I guess. Oh, but here's the Marauder. The mysterious Marauder watches every move the Mayhem Trio makes from a nearby cliff, watches and follows. See, you have to admit, this definitely has some charm. They're not really putting a lot of effort into it, but they're not really putting a lot of effort in kind of a jaunty way. So, he's following with his nitro afterburners. He's gaining on us, traveling at incredible speed. We cannot hope to outdistance him, but we can lead him to a previously planned trap at Mayhem Central, which involves basically just luring him underground, where Mayhem has this really advanced high-tech compound. And then he does this. There's the Nullagon. And now they've got all these traps set up for the Marauder. This is a lot of money for Team America. You want to spend all this money to get like Spider-Man or something. Spending all this money on Team America, that you're just not very good with money, friend. You can do better. So there's these giant claws, and then this giant magenta robot who just... honestly, he looks like a Digimon or something. Cyborg with laser vision capable of halting a regiment. Comic conventions. Everyone welcomed. Marvel Treasuries. Hard to obtain goodies now available. Price guide value as high as $7. Our price $3 each, or 4 for $10. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Lifesavers, lots of fun and amazing flavors. Oh, that looks hard. Putting together, it's like a word search where you have to circle that's difficult. I can't do that. That's too much for me. Oh, that's a nice looking page. Especially like with these pinks and magentas. You know, motorcycle action isn't always the easiest thing to draw, but with these parallel lines, it really makes it, zip off the page there. Down the darkling corridors of the Mayhem Complex, Marauder is herded like some wild stallion towards deadly danger. But, tall in the saddle, he survives. Cowboy would be proud. Cowboy is the name of one of the riders. Impossible. No one can outthink me. Marauder can. The Nullagon awaits. Marauder revs his stunt cycle and leaps forward, only to be assaulted. Not from without, but from within. See, they're making good use of magenta. That's sort of a secret trick that not a lot of people seem to pick up. But, Michael Golden, he was the guy who really got the most use out of the fact that magenta is a normal color that jumps off the page like neon. It's really, wow, that's a nice, for Team America, this is a nice page. Mr. Mystic's just like taking it to the Marauder here. Reality gives way to insanity. The fabric of time and space unravels at the seams. There's no way for Marauder to know what is and what is not. Except that he knows his pain is real and that its source is Mr. Magic. That is a cool page right there. You gotta admit, that's a cool page. But then Marauder basically just uses his mental powers to call his motorcycle to come and knock the magic guy over. Oh, now he's got to fight. The strong guy's got this electro stave. So yeah, they're actually prepared for this guy. They're ready. They don't think to attack him all at once, which is the mistake they always make. Villains in these type of setups. They never just mob the guy. Because, he's stronger than this guy. He can basically overpower this guy, give him a few minutes, which he does. There's your subscription form. Team America were on the subscription form, but they did not last. So if you subscribe to them after issue 3, you would probably get the rest of your subscription in Amazing Spider-Man, if I recall correctly. So the feedback knocks Mr. Mind out. Mr. Muscle gets knocked out. The Nullagon ceases to glow. Then Mr. Mayhem, he's basically figured that his team has failed. And now Team America's loose and he's surrounded. You're free! Marauder must have freed you from the Nullagon, but you won't live to tell of it. And this guy is not much of a challenge for the wolf, enabling the wolf to both avoid your blasts and leap in for the attack. Knowing they will find no answers in the ruins of the Mayhem Complex, Team America rides off into the night. The wind seems to whisper reassurance that somewhere a guardian angel is looking after them. Magnificence, thy name is Marvel. And what could be more magnificent than I think this is Don Perlin in The Last Year Ghost Rider. We just read this on the TikTok not that long ago. Early John Romita Jr. on Amazing Spider-Man. Really, really nice looking. Spectacular Spider-Man always looked pretty nice. It was a handsome looking book for most of its run. And G.I. Joe #2. So this came out. Team America premiered then the month before G.I. Joe. Marvel didn't know how well toy books could sell. They didn't know G.I. Joe was going to end up being the second coming of Star Wars in terms of, a sales juggernaut based on a, media property. Wasn't going to be Team America, sadly. Oh, we get Marvel Masterwork pinups featuring the Team America crew. Hydra classified file. Subject, Wolf. Other than the documented fact that he's an ex-motorcycle gang leader, little is known about Wolf's past. Random comments suggest that he was an orphan and never knew the warmth and security of a family. Wolf is a loner, a sullen and distant individual. He brings an undercurrent of tension to the group and always seems to be on the verge of quitting. He openly scorns the idea of Team America, but in many ways, it is the family he never had. He is the team strongman and the fastest flat-out racer. And the other guy is Are You Ready? His last name is Reddy, R-E-D-D-Y. First initials, R-U. The subject is the son of a multimillionaire who misspent huge amounts of his father's money. Pressed by his father to amount to something, Are You Ready began a promising career as a rock musician, but promptly squandered it away by wasting time tooling around with motorcycles. As a result, his father disowned him. The individual is hot-headed, impulsive, totally fearless, and possibly mentally unstable. His prime motivation as a member of Team America is to win in order to make money, enough money to repay his father every cent he ever took from him. A daring, reckless stunt rider, Are You Ready will attempt anything, no matter how dangerous or stupid, to win. And here's the bullpen bulletins page. And here they're talking about the first issue of G.I. Joe being advertised on TV. Have you noticed the national television advertisements for our new G.I. Joe comic book? I believe this is the first time in history that a comic book has been advertised on network TV. And the last. That alone makes our $1.50 special 48-page first issue printed offset on deluxe paper a collector's item. Besides that, I happen to think the concept is terrific. It's about a super special anti-terrorist unit of the U.S. Army codenamed G.I. Joe, which uses the latest in computerized, laser-guided high-tech weaponry and equipment. Imagine a gun which automatically aims wherever you look and destroys any target your eyes are focused on when you say bang into your helmet mic. It's real, and you'll see it in other sophisticated gear and action in G.I. Joe. I don't remember. Does that gun ever show up in G.I. Joe? Doesn't seem like a very Larry Hama idea to me. I promised you no hard sell in this column, so I'll refrain from giving you the rush right out and buy lots. Man, yeah, G.I. Joe was about to sell them a lot of comic books. And, they were still selling Star Wars. It was 1962, and Return of the Jedi was a year away, and they ended up selling a lot of comic books when Return of the Jedi came out, too. Didn't sell so many comic books for the Conan movies, but that was apparently the month of the Michael Fleischer. Oh, hello, you came to join us. Oh, hey there, how's it going? He wants to know all about the Michael Fleischer and John Buscema adaptation of the Conan movie. What else we got going here? Anything left? Oh, we got 2 pages of letters. 2 pages of letters with an ad for Spider-Woman. She's lovely. She's dynamic. She's dynamite. Any interesting names in the letters page? Oh, there's a T.M. Maple. T.M. Maple had a letter in issue 3 of Team America. It's nice to see another new Marvel mag that is not a standard superhero entry. All right, well, you guys, you can probably tell I'm a Team America fan. Oh, Dungeons and Dragons ad. Very early Dungeons and Dragons ad. Wonder who did the art for that. Make you master of karate. They're still selling karate stuff. Oh, there you go. G.I. Joe is all the rage. All right. Well, we got through 2 comics in a fair amount of time here. Are you going to give me trouble? Oh, he's decided to be awake. He's decided to share his love with the world. All right, what's next? Well, how about this? We got Shattered Image #1. From 96, I want to say. Where they put this. Shattered Image #1, August 96. I think this is the only issue of Shattered Image I bought. This was one of their rare attempts to do a cross-image crossover. The image universe, such as it is, as it existed in this very rare moment of time, when the Rob Liefeld characters, Youngblood and the like, had been ripped out of the image universe due to real-world business shenanigans with the image founders. And this was, you can tell, this was a very weird moment in time for the company, because the Wildstorm stuff is still there, because Gen 13 are hanging around with Spawn. But here's Cyberforce. And it's kind of funny. Witchblade would be, you'd think Witchblade would be on the cover by middle of 96, but this was still early enough that, hello, people didn't know just how successful she was going to be. Certainly that she was going to be the face of Top Cow Productions very quickly by the time this got going, because I'm sure there was a fair amount of lead time with this, dealing with all of these different creators and their characters. And Spawn, Savage Dragon, and one of the Wetworks dudes. Man, I bought Wetworks. I respected Wetworks because it showed up late to the party, but it was a very interesting looking book. But I do not ask me to remember anything that happened in Wetworks. It was a book to flip through and gawk at. Kind of a grumpy looking Savage Dragon there, covered by Tony Daniel, who also did the interiors. I think Tony Daniel, he ended up doing their credits page some point, or I guess we don't get a credits page. Kurt Busiek and Barbara Kesel, very classical team. And this was 96, so Kurt Busiek had already done Marvels. He was already into Untold Tales of Spider-Man. So he already had, he'd been working since the mid-'80s, but he had already stumbled into his, mature reputation as a, I don't want to say retro guy, but definitely someone with a more classical, sense. I want to say Astro City #1 had already been out by now. Tony Daniel, he had done Spawn. I want to say he had already done Spawn and had already done X-Force. I don't quite remember the order those came in, but I think it was Spawn, X-Force, and then he would have done this. I want to say this maybe took forever to come out, but like I say, I didn't buy the rest of it. Just wasn't that impressed with this. I bought the first one. If I had to guess, I'd say I bought the first one, kind of car wreck curiosity, and I wasn't impressed to come back for the rest of it. Inks, Kevin Conrad. Colors, Steve Leaf. Letters, Chris Eliopoulos. Eliopoulos did a lot of lettering for Savage Dragon, at least. He was doing a fair amount of image stuff, I think. And here's Shadowhawk. We're starting off with Shadowhawk, who doesn't even rate the cover. But that's who we're starting with. There's our boy Shadowhawk, selling these Gen 13 trading cards. Still going with the trading cards in 1996, although I don't think that they were doing anywhere near as well. The stores that were moving cards, I think, and moved on to like Magic the Gathering and like other CCGs at the time. A lot of stores stayed open thanks to Magic the Gathering. Never forget it. And now they're getting screwed because Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro are falling apart, and stores that had depended on Magic for a consistent income stream are really struggling with it right now. I understand there are some other games that are becoming popular simply because Magic is struggling. People are still buying it. People certainly bought the Lord of the Rings series, but the success of the Disney card game didn't come in a vacuum. And here's a very... Oh, wait, this Bad Rock. I just said that the Liefeld characters were gone. I guess I was completely wrong about that. Because he left at some... Oh, maybe this was when they left. I don't know. Because he left at some point. This is 30 years ago, folks. My brain is cottage cheese. I'm an old person. Gen 13 Bootleg. That was a good series. A lot of interesting creators. The first arc, which is being... I have some of them in a box at my feet, actually. So Alan Davis on the first arc here. Alan Davis and Mark Farmer together. So that's a gruesome bad rock. He stops a bus, which is, you know, I guess superhero stuff. Here's Wetworks just chilling, fighting werewolves, which is pretty much what Wetworks does. They're cyborgs whose gimmick, or their, I don't know if it's gimmick or their reason for being, their métier is fighting monsters. So it's cyborgs fighting monsters. Not a bad concept as far as these things go. So I don't remember who this blonde character is, who I guess is pulling together the team, maybe? Let's see. I'm looking to see if... Because I'm looking at the cheat sheet, which is all of the characters and their ownership. Seeing if maybe there's another character who is trademark Kurt Busiek, but it doesn't say so. Doesn't look like your normal Kurt Busiek comic, certainly. But, you know, I'm sure they brought him on to give the whole enterprise a little sheen of respectability. Like, oh, we're going to do an event. We're going to get an actual real writer to put it together. And Kurt Busiek, he's a pro. He's written crossovers in his day. He's about as good at writing crossovers as most people are at writing crossovers, which is, you know, he can do it decently, but you maybe won't stick in your teeth for very long. Tony Twist, Spawn supporting character for you. Who are these guys? The Vampire Nation? I do not remember. Were these the vampires from Wetworks? Huh? I don't know who those guys are. And here's an ad for the... I actually reviewed this on the TikTok not that long ago either, a few months ago. You know, if there's any of the Heroes Reborn books that are buried treasures, it's the Iron Man. Not so much the Fantastic Four, although it's maybe worth flipping through if you're ever morbidly curious about what it looks like. Because it is primetime Jim Lee. 90s Jim Lee. Well, hello. Oh, you going back to lay down? Oh, he was giving me such trouble earlier right before I made dinner. He had a good 45 minutes driving me up the wall. And here's Savage Dragon doing something or other, and here's Cyberforce. I've done a couple episodes on Cyberforce with Claire for Udder Madness, which is our podcast. I'll put the card on the screen here real quick so you can, if you don't stick around to the end of the video to hear me hyping it. San Diego, which is near where Gen 13 stomping grounds were. So we're back to Cyberforce fighting. I don't understand who was fighting anyone for whatever reason. And we're cutting back to a page of Gen 13. So, you know, there's just a lot going on. And we're back to the Savage Dragon. Oh, Leave It to Chance. This was sort of a hot book for a hot minute in the late 90s because it was James Robinson, his big creator-owned move after Starman took off with Paul Smith. And it's just a very, very old school adventure book. It actually has a little bit of a, I thought it maybe had a little bit of a Tintin flavor, just about a young teenage girl adventurer. You know, I think they did, maybe about that much of it if they put it all in a book. I have a few issues of it. It's pretty decent. Pretty decent. Certainly it's Paul Smith. It looks very good. Back to Cyberforce. Nasty looking Ripclaw there. Or no, Rip. I have to admit, I get like Ripclaw and Warblade mixed up. And I have a podcast where I talk about these guys, and I still get these guys mixed up with the guy from the Wildcats, because their origins are tied together, which, takes up way too much space in my brain. Cyberforce lore. Oh, and here we are with the big guy himself. The one of these guys who still, by the late 90s, had significant juice, who was still selling. And here's the Spawn gimmick of all the talking heads, which turned out to be kind of a prescient gimmick, using lots of talking heads for exposition. Oh, and we're just straight up stealing the stealing the motif from Crisis on Infinite Earths. And here's, I guess, the visual signification of the fact that this is basically just the work of separate creators that get kludged together to sort of pretend like it's one cohesive whole, but it is not one cohesive whole in any way, shape, or form. Our world is breaking into 6 smaller subworlds, and I don't have any idea why. I've got to find out what is happening and why. Well, what's happening is that they're all, having very fraught board meetings. Much has been written on the subject. Astro City, the critically acclaimed and major Eisner Award-winning series, returns under a brand new imprint, Homage Comics. In this one-issue story, we see Astro City under devastating cosmic attack, protected by virtually all of the heroes. And I think that's where I came on, because I didn't buy the first series. I caught up with it on the first trade. I think I got the first trade for Christmas in 96 or 97. And then I just started picking up with the monthly, because I've always been about pretty much anything Kurt Busiek buys. That might have even been why I picked up the first issue of this. Strangers in Paradise has moved over to Homage and Image as well. DV8, which was a Gen 13 spinoff that got a big push. That was Warren Ellis and Humberto Ramos. Oh yeah, that was one of Humberto Ramos's big books besides Impulse. He did a lot. I guess in hindsight, he did quite a bit. He always was very timely. That's why he was able to actually finish Crimson. And Deathblow Wolverine. They did a couple different Deathblow Wolverines, and I can't remember if that's the Deathblow Wolverine people like or not. I don't think so. Backlash was already up to 23. That was Brett Booth's first big vehicle, I want to say. Stormwatch up to 39. It's getting towards, I think Warren Ellis is probably taking it over already. I think Alan Moore is on Wildcats. So already, they're bringing in decent writers for the Wildstorm stuff to improve the writing. Another series of Union. I didn't know they did another series of Union. Brass. I don't remember Brass at all. All right. Oh, and here's a preview of the next issue. I guess this has more of the Image guys in it. Can you see Witchblade? She was barely established as anything by... Of course, I'm just looking to see if I can find Witchblade. The Darkness, I don't think, existed by this time. Yeah, I don't see Witchblade. Witchblade? That blade. Oh, I've never used that joke on the podcast. I got to save that joke up. Let's see here. Oh, and Spawn Chromium. Yeah, Todd was still pushing the cards through as well. Spawn comes back. That's what spawns do. Yeah, and he'd see, this is, Homage had sort of built up a respectable portfolio at this time. Because Astro City, I mean, it came out of the gate. It won Eisner's. It was, you know, pretty much everyone's favorite series from the first month it was out. Strangers of Paradise. This book was really pushed. Wizard made a big push for this one. It never quite got like the critical acclaim that certainly Astro City did. You know, the people who would have really liked this book kind of thought it was a Love and Rockets ripoff, which I don't think was necessarily fair, but you know, it still has a huge fan base. Terry Moore still puts out monthly comics all the time. And Leave It to Chance, which I already mentioned. Respect for creators. Respect for you. All right, how are we doing on time here? Oh, we got maybe time to flip through something else. Real quick, what do we got? Give me something interesting. How about... too much. All right, how about, real quick, Legends of the DC Universe, number 28. We've looked at a couple issues of this before. I love the Legends of the DC Universe series. It was their Legends of the Dark Knight, only with all the other characters in the line. So this is from May 2000. I don't think the book lasted till, like, maybe it got canceled around 40, 41-ish, I want to say. I think I dropped it, not out of not wanting to. I think I moved. It was a big move for me at the time. Actually, that was when I moved out to Oklahoma. And I think a couple things just fell by the wayside. But this is Stephen Grant and Gil Kane. Stephen Grant and Gil Kane had worked together. I think they did, I want to say they did The Edge, was the name of the guy, in the early 90s for Malibu. And Klaus Janson. Who did this cover? Tell me who did the cover. This month's Stunning Cavers. Oh, but Gil Kane and Alex Ross. So that's interesting. Alex Ross finishing over a Gil Kane cover. So, this is towards... in the, you know, last handful of pages that Gil Kane ever drew in his life, because he died not that long after this. But the fact is, up until the day he died, he could still draw really good comic. And he could still do monthly for short, at least for short spans. He drew Scarlet Spider #1. I always try to, you know, freak people's minds with that one. Who drew Scarlet Spider #1? Gil Kane, the same man who drew Green Lantern #1 in 1960. That is remarkable to me. That I will never get over that. But up until, you know, the very end, he was capable of drawing Green Lantern just like he ever did, just like he always did. And Klaus Janson, who, you know, is actually turning in a very, very respectful ink job. He's not jazzing it up, so to speak. He's letting, you know, the thing with Gil Kane is his storytelling, you know, his anatomy, his expression, they're all so perfect. All you got to do is basically put what's in the pencils on the page, make sure that communicates, and you know you got a dynamite-looking comic book. Now, of course, I believe that Gil Kane's greatest inker was himself. His ink line was absolutely sublime. Absolutely sublime. But if someone else had to ink him, I mean, this is a very nice job here. And he's drawing a very classical-looking, you know, Green Lantern, you know, with a little, this is a little bit of a 90s. He updated, you know, when it was came time for, you know, giant dudes with ammo belts, he could draw that too. That's unsettling. So I don't know who this guy is or what he's doing. He's going from world to world, spreading an epistle of violence. So, you know, it sounds like a good way to spend your time. He's fighting a Green Lantern. The Green Lantern was dead or near it. I won. I lost. Oh, man, that is a nice looking panel. Nice looking page. He lands, and he spends some time as a cowboy. Oh, and I think this was a previous arc. They actually did an Abin Sur arc, where Abin Sur came to Earth in the Old West time, and so he got to be a cowboy. And here's the Atom. So this is the first team up. I guess the gimmick here is this is the first team up between the two characters, the two Silver Age DC characters who Gil Kane was most closely associated with. Yeah, I mean he drew some Robin, he drew some Batman, but he originated Silver Age Green Lantern and Silver Age Atom. I think both of them. There's Gene Loring, who would go on to have some problems in the 2000s, shall we just say. Put a lot of effort into this Three Musketeers ad. They had a wonderful dynamic because she just basically treated him like garbage, and he kept coming back for more, and that was their relationship dynamic in the books themselves at the time. It wasn't tacked on after the fact. They had a rather interesting dynamic. Jackie Chan Stuntmaster. So he's flying around. Just what I needed, my own version of Kryptonite. Oh man, look at that. That is such a nice looking page. You know, he could draw like this he just drew like this to show off. And that's why you see all of these all this dynamic musculature that was the trademark of Kane was him showing off. Because he could do that. Most people could not do that. Most people could not draw the human figure as well as he could. But, you know, that's why he was Kane. That's why he was just about the best to ever do it. Oh, this Superman Gen 13. I didn't pick this up at the time. I wish I had, because it's written by Adam Hughes. Adam Hughes has written a few comics over the years, drawn by a very young Lee Bermejo. I wish I'd picked it up at the time. I had no idea who Lee Bermejo would become. But you can tell just from this ad that that's a nice looking comic book. It's something I hope to come across in a dollar bin at some point. Oh, nice picturesque crash. Uh-oh. And there's Hal Jordan getting balled out for crashing an airplane. This isn't the time or place for a romantic overture. Well, that's Hal for you. It just looks so nice. I'm sure that, you know, the story looks basically just like, you know, your boilerplate, bringing them together for an adventure. You know, you just want to stack them up so they, you know, can go through the motions here. You want to see the Atom and Green Lantern looking nice. Goofy looking statue. Without further ado, our main attraction, it's Green Lantern. Isn't there probably someone dying because their sun's about to explode and you're hanging around doing like parlor tricks here? Well, the Atom's looking for you. Oh, subscribe today and receive this erasable memo board and pen absolutely free. Well, that's That's what you want right there. Now a clean shot at real fame. I'll be the man who killed Green Lantern. Only if you painted those bullets gold, buddy. I detest Hal Jordan. I think he is a fool. And yet, even he can avoid being shot. His, limited capability. He can deflect a bullet. Hal Jordan is so useless that this guy can take control of his ring from a distance. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Big Adam. Big Adam. Only because it's DC. They never thought to have the Atom do that. But, Hank Pym, he figured out the trick. You got to give Hank Pym that over Ray Palmer. My power ring's gone. Well, Hal, what was I just saying? I have absolutely no respect for you, either as a superhero or a person. You are manifestly, demonstrably bad at your job in every way, shape, or form. All right. Oh, Partnership for Drug-Free America. So my idea of getting high is this dude doing skateboard tricks. Powerade. There we go. All right. 4 comics. That's a good little haul right there. Stick around. There's 25 videos other than this for you to enjoy. Stick around. I got tons of content on here. Check out my TikTok or my Instagram. Same difference in terms of what's posted, but I post a new comic book review every single day, and you can find compilations of old reviews with longer series on this channel as well. We're reading every Friday. We're reading The Life and Times of Uncle Scrooge lately. That's going to last a good 3 months or so. I'm really looking forward to digging into that one. I got a podcast. I believe I mentioned it earlier with Claire Napier. We talk about Top Cow Comics, so that's Cyberforce, Witchblade, Mark Silvestri, Michael Turner, all that good stuff. We're on Spotify, we're on Patreon, and I even put old videos on the YouTube here with video annotations, although it takes me forever to get around to doing them. But people seem to like them. You can probably find one just a click away. What else? Usually you can find me more or less every week or so at the Comics Journal, right on the main page there, doing something or other, either a feature essay or more likely a review. What else? Am I forgetting something? I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Check out my Patreon. If you like these videos, if you want to encourage me doing more of them, that's how you do it. Go check it out. I got tons of stuff to download there. Tons of writing to download. And just have a wonderful day. Treat yourself well. Treat your fellow human beings well. Treat your fellow living creatures well. And do something nice for yourself. Catch you later.